Hi everyone, it's Karen here. Welcome to another Monday video with me. I hope you've enjoyed your weekend of celebrations. I hope you've had some downtime. I hope you've had some fun with your friends, just like these gorgeous little dancing fairies. So the theme for the Creative Challenge this month is celebration. Isn't that an apt way to start it off? So here I've got a Distress Oxide background on my gel plate with some brushos. I'm using orange, sunburst lemon, white and turquoise in brushos. My stamping I have done with Twilight. And then I've got these lovely dangly bits in Cheerful, both in VersaFine Clair. And as I said, my background on my gel plate is using Blueprint Sketch in Distress Oxides. As always, I'm using Multifarious cardstock, which is 330 GSM. It's a really smooth card, and it takes the water that we're going to throw at it with the brushos really well. The stamps that I'm going to be using here, as I've said, these gorgeous fairies are called Dancing Till Dawn. Then I've got Tree of Courage and Tree of Hope on either side. I've also got one of the stamps from a 2-stamp set, Winter Berries, and then Stamp of Elora set. So we will get started. I'm using the oblong gel plate. So that is the oblong gel plate. I've got my brayer to start. And the first thing that I'm going to do is take my Distress Oxide and I'm going to ink up my brayer. So when I'm inking up my brayer, I will pull it, roll it, pick it up. So that way I'm getting an even coverage of my brayer and it's not sort of sticking in the same place. That being said, I've just re-inked my plates, my ink pads, so it's a bit thicker in the middle, but that's okay. So we're going to take it and apply it onto the gel plate. And I'm going to, again, roll it, lift it up, roll it, lift it up. That way, you're going to get a lovely even coverage. There are no bubbles, there are no marks. I'm then going to take off the excess of my brayer. And I'm going to store my brayer this way up. I always do that so that I don't get any dents and marks in the top of my brayer. I'm using 2 fan brushes. I like to keep 1 fan brush just for the white brushos. That way it's going to always stay crisp, clean. It's not going to contaminate my brushos. But you know what? That's only a recent thing. So if you want to use the same one, just make sure you wash it off really well. I work with 2 water pots next to me, one for light colours and one for dark colours. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take, let me talk about my brushos here. I'm sure you will have seen us do this before. This is my Buddy palette. It holds my tiny little pots really well. They're all stuck in really neatly. And I just put a tiny bit of the brusho powder into the bottom of my pot and then spritz it with water and mix it all up. I will keep these mixed up like this, my favourite colours, for weeks and weeks. And you can see this one. This is where it all tips over, right? Now I'll lift it up. You can see this one is a bit crusty and hard. So I will just reactivate that with a bit of water. There comes a point, probably soon, when I will have a clean wash of all of this. And you can see what I've done here is just put the labels of the names of my brushes so I remember my favourite colours and where they are. So that's them all mixed up. And I'm just going to pop my fan brush into the lemon. And I'm just going to take a ruler and I'm going to tap it. You could tap it with your finger, but I prefer to do it with my ruler because then I get, it's more consistent. Right, so you can see I went in a bit of a sort of wavy line there across the centre of my plate. And then I'm going to pick up orange, again dabbing my fan brush straight into my little pot. taking the first big blobs off because I just want a tiny bit of this to pop throughout my design. And then I'm going to take turquoise. It's a really lovely, vibrant turquoise, this one. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? And I'm just going to put a tiny bit of this throughout my design. Tiny splatters over the plate. And then last but by no means least, I'm going to take my white and I'm going to splatter this all over my plate. All over the other colours as well. There we have it. And now I'm just going to take my piece of card and pop it over the top. This is the best bit. So satisfying, this. Actually, you never know what you're going to get. If you put too many brushos on, you could land up with a smushy mess and not enough. Oh, I think that's going to be beautiful. It looks a bit dark at the moment, but when it dries, I think that's going to be lovely. So I'm going to clean up this. Let me show you how I do that. So I just take a piece of paper and clean it up like that. And then I will store it in its clamshell. Sometimes I will make several of these and then I will clean off the surface with some hand sanitizer and some kitchen cloth. So there we have it. I've trimmed off all the white paper around the edge and I'm going to take my Twilight and ink up my dancing fairies. You'll have seen me do this many times. I tap the ink pad onto the stamp as opposed to dragging it across. That gives you much more of a even coverage of the ink. Now, the brushos on paper are pretty, create a bit of a porous effect. So you do need to make sure that you have inked up the stamp well and that you pop it onto the card and leave it for a few seconds. Let that ink soak into the paper. And as I say, it's only because the brushos on the background have created a bit more texture. But look at them, gorgeous dancing fairies. And then we're going to take our Tree of Hope and do the same. And I'm going to put the roots of this in the card. I know the tree extends beyond the card, but you'll see how we create these branches coming into it at the end. There we go. I'm going to stamp the other tree. This is the Tree of Courage. Again, I'm going to put the root into the frame and the extra branches. It's fine if they are outside of it, because what we're going to do now is we're going to again bring those branches into the center. So I'm going to re-ink just the top part of that tree. And I am going to position it I've got a piece of copy paper that I'm just going to protect the rest of in case there's any ink still left on the rest of the tree. This is how I'm going to protect it. Lovely, that side. Let me just clean off this stamp. So I just use water in my spritzy bottle and my tea towel, my cloth, and I gently just clean off the stamps. And I'm going to go back to the previous Tree of Hope. And again, just do the branches there. Still holding on to my piece of paper. I'm just going to get these few tiny pieces in there. Lovely. So I do hope you've all had a lovely bank holiday. I actually had the whole week off. How indulgent. The weather was fantastic. I've just got a new lawn and a new deck, so I chilled out for a lot of it. So we're now going to take one of the little dangly bits, that's a technical term, right? One of the little dangly bits from the Tree of Courage, and I'm going to take up my Cheerful, and I'm just going to put a few of these in and around the design. You can see what I did there. So I just joined it up so you can make it longer, shorter. Just gives you a bit of interest there. So they're dancing in and amongst all this joyfulness. I feel like we need some more here. That's a bit better. Okay, lovely. Now we're going to take one of the stamps from the Wild Berry set. This is the smaller one. And I'm just going to tear off a corner there. And we're just going to use that as a mask. Doesn't have to be too perfect. And look, they just look as though they're popping out from behind the tree trunk there. Love it. Now you can carry on with that stamp if you like, but I quite like this one, which is from the Flora set. And again, I'm just using the same colour and my same piece of paper, Generation 1 and 2. That creates the illusion that they are fading into the distance. Lovely. Look at that. Now I'm just going to take my Posca pen, which is white acrylic paint pen, and just do some little white dots amongst the berries. And then I'm going to take my smoothie with my Distress Oxides, my Blueprint sketch, and I am going to circular motion here. I'm just moving this around the edge of the card to create a frame. I've got a bit of a black crayon here, nothing special, and I'm just going to create a bit of grounding, a bit of a shadow under where they're dancing. That sort of just grounds them. You could put foliage at the bottom here, but I quite liked them just dancing. Lovely. Now, this one is slightly darker than the original. Let me show you. Oh, very different, aren't they? Now, that is because I put more yellow and more blue on. So they've blended together to create this greeny background. It's not unpleasant at all. I really quite like it, but very different from here. So this one you would put far less brushes onto the background. That's the only difference. Exactly the same colours, etc. Now, because this is darker, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some white splatters on it. And to do that, I'm just going to take my stamp, making sure it's clean. That's all I was going to do. And I'm going to pop it over where I stamped. Take my white Posca pen and my ruler, and I'm just going to splatter my background with the white. And then I'll just quickly clean this off. If you ever put paint near your stamps, straight away they need to be cleaned off, even if it's the back. Okay, so there you have Celebration. I would love to see what you make. Please tag me so I don't miss them. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back again soon. Bye for now.